Welcome back to another video. In this video we finish off this 1939 Columbus Model 65 vintage radio. Alright, so we're just about there finishing off this 1939 Columbus Model 65 vintage radio. If you saw the first video, we cleaned the radio chassis, which was pretty dirty, and also included a bonus dead mouse, and I also found some borer holes in the wooden cabinet. In part 2, I treated the cabinet for borer by freezing the cabinet and using a chemical treatment. And moving on to the electronics of the vintage radio. If you saw the last Columbus video, we had a special guest, Vintage Radio Steve, and he helped out and we recapped this vintage radio, so it's now all up and running.
I mean, when you look at it outside,
there you go.
Or it seems like it's...
The first thing we'll look at is repairing the cable on this speaker. This is a 10-inch Radio Corp electromagnetic speaker. Now if you saw the last video, you would have noticed that this insulation here was starting to look a bit past its use by date. What we're going to do is just cut this cable down, and then we're just going to resolder each of these individual wires back onto these tabs here. Right, so we might have to abandon using this cable here actually, as I'm taking this cloth covering off. You can just see that the insulation to each of these wires here is just sort of breaking apart, so that's not going to be usable at all. So I'll just see if I can find another cable that we can use, but you can just see that plastic insulation here is just breaking away. Okay, so I found some jug cable or IEC cable. It's not going to look pretty in the back of a vintage radio cabinet, but this will do until I source some new cloth covered cable. I'm going to cut both of these ends off here and prep it to replace the old cable. Before I unsolder these wires here, I'm just going to place this piece of cardboard just under here, just to prevent any damage to the speaker itself, just in case any solder drops down onto the speaker. Now that we have unsoldered the old cable from the speaker, let's now fit the new cable. And onto the speaker switch, where we will remove the old cable and fit the new cable. Okay, so we've fitted this new cable. We'll just pop this switch back together. Right, that's the speaker cable done. Let's move on to the radio chassis and look at what we will do next.
So is really go out there, keep enjoying my footy, and I think that's probably the key. As long as I'm enjoying it, then I'm open to whatever. So.
Welcome back. It's the following weekend here now, and we're going to continue on with this vintage Columbus radio. Now the first thing we're going to do is take a look at these cams down here. They actually control the mechanical eyes on the dial of this vintage radio. Now if we take a closer look at the cams, you can see that the grease on the cams has hardened over the years. So what we're going to do is give the cams a clean up and a re-lube. Secondly, we're going to replace the light bulbs that light up the dial on this vintage radio. Now one of the light bulbs has blown, so we're just going to go ahead and replace both of those light bulbs. Now I've picked up some LED light bulbs. It's going to be interesting to see how they work on a 6-volt AC system here. So we'll fit those and we'll just see what they look like and go from there. Okay, well let's make a start here. So we'll just remove these cams off these potentiometers here. So we've got a volume and a tone potentiometer, and basically all these cams are doing are just pushing a lever to operate the mechanical eyes. So we'll start on this side here and we'll just do these one at a time. I think it's going to be easier for me to slide these cams off and just clean them. So we'll make a start on this one here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here's our cam, and all I'm going to use is some WD-40, an old toothbrush, and I'm just going to clean that on a ice cream container lid. Alrighty, that WD-40's done a good job. Just give this a dry off and then we'll refit it. Now I'll just give it a quick wipe before I refit the cam. Now how this works is you've just got that cam just down the bottom there, and all it's doing is just pushing this lever up and down. So if I just adjust that down, you can see here that this lever moves up and down, and just on the other side here is the mechanical eye. So if we go back around the back here, this has got a little bit of resistance to it, so I'm just going to give this lever here a bit of a lube up. So probably just going to put a little bit of oil just on the back of this here, and I might just put a dab of oil just in the back there, just where that mechanical eye sort of opens and closes. I don't want to put too much in there though, because I don't want oil to sort of seep in this mechanical eye. So we'll just put a small dab there and some down the back. Now I'm just going to use this Tri-Flow lube here. I find this lube pretty good because it's safe on plastic. So this looks like oh, it could actually be Bakelite or something, I'm not too sure, but I'll use this Tri-Flow lube. So I'm just going to just put a small bit down the back here. That feels better. I'm just going to put a little bit more on. A lot less resistance here when I'm moving this now, so I might not lube this mechanical eye up. I don't want to get too much lube in here that it starts showing up on the plastic there. Okay, now that's done, I'm just going to adjust the cam. So you can see here this mechanical eye isn't fully closing here, so I'll just adjust that cam just to push it up a bit more. Right, that looks a lot better, and it operates fine as well. Now one last thing I'm just going to do is just put a bit of new grease just on this cam, and this one's all ready to go. Now I'm just using a bicycle grease here, and I'm just going to just apply it around the edge of this cam here, so I won't put too much on, but just a little bit, just to give it a bit of a lube up. And in hindsight I should have just applied the grease to the back of the cam when I had it off, but never mind, we'll just use the old finger trick here, and I'll just take some of this excess off. Perfect, so that's all done. I'm going to move on to the other side now, and we'll get that lubed up and out the way. Alrighty, it's time to replace the light bulbs on this vintage radio. Now I've picked up two LED light bulbs from AliExpress. They're a 6-volt AC DC bulb. I'm going to fit those and just see how well they work on this vintage radio. Okay, we'll start off by just removing both of these older bulbs out of the radio. We'll just remove this one first. On this bulb it's got Edison made in USA 6-volt, so I'm guessing maybe these are the original bulbs, I'm not too sure. These are the LED bulbs that I got from AliExpress. So it's going to be interesting to see how they work on this radio. I'm suspecting they're going to be pretty bright, so maybe not suitable. So I'll just fit them into these holders. And we'll just get this other one out. Okay, we'll power this on and just see what these lights look like. Okay, so first impression is the dial seems a little bit too bright to me, and there's a slight flicker if you look down on top of the dial. Be interesting to see how this looks on camera though. So the top camera is recording at 50 frames per second, and the front camera is at 100. So that's what it looks like face on. A little bit bright for me. I'm going to go ahead and just order some 6-volt incandescent light bulbs. So I'll get those and I'll do another video so we can compare the differences between them. But overall conclusion of these LED bulbs is bright and the very slight flicker that I can see. Okay guys, well I'm going to bring the video to an end here, and we can carry on and finish this Columbus radio off in the next video. Now it was good to get these cams cleaned up and re-lubed, and these mechanical eyes work a lot better too. And it was also good to get this cable replaced for the speaker switch. Now the only disappointment was the LED lights. So as you saw on the video, slight bit of flicker and a little bit too bright for this dial. So I'm going to go away and order some incandescent 6-volt light bulbs and get those fitted in the next video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.